Good morning, Michael. Oops.
Good morning, Jenny White.
How are you?
Good. I'm real good after the parents won their lawsuit in Edmond against.
Okay, so tell us about that really fast.
Well, we sued the school for the discrimination of unvaccinated kids. We won decisively in district court. They appealed it straight to Supreme Court, and we won in Supreme Court. And then they tried to rehear that Supreme Court case, and the Supreme Court denied them and said, "Too bad. This is discrimination. You can't do this."
Oh.
So it's done. It's over with. So we'll hopefully we'll have a couple more things to surprise everybody with on that other side of that.
Well, I mean, and honestly, I think the thing we're going to have to surprise everybody with is the thing that is kind of a little frustrating. We're going to have to sue school boards to make them function properly.
Yep. Well, not just, hopefully that's going to open the gate for parents to just set a precedent that parents can sue these school boards for.
You could also school the school board, but they won't.
Yeah,
listen.
They need to be schooled. That's for sure, especially with everything and what we're going to talk about today with Riley. But
yeah,
until we stand up and we start being loud, nothing's going to change. And that's why we got Riley on here also.
Well, and I think that's the most important thing. I love the way you started this morning, because that is what we need to talk to Riley about. Is he has made a difference, and I'm going to he's sitting here waiting. So I'm going to bring him on. Good morning, Riley. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. How are y'all?
It's so good to see you.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, you too. Michael, I've never actually, I've seen you on here a couple times, but I've met Jenny a few times. I haven't had the pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Nice to meet you.
My pleasure. Love to watch everything you do.
Well, I appreciate it. I got to say again, I'm going to keep telling y'all, it ain't me.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I mean, I do.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I mean, and I kind of want to stress this at the beginning of this program. I mean, you're a wonderfully humble man, and I love that. But it is important to remember that, God gives everybody a mouth, and, sometimes people feel prompted, and they're scared, and they don't open their mouth, and they live in a state of fear. And the one thing that you've not done is that. And that's super important to remember,
Well, sure. And the reason why I can't take any credit for it is because that paralyzing fear, I have learned through the truth, which is the Bible, which is Christ, that fear is a liar. And if it causes me to not do the right thing, or to stand up for what God says is true, then that is my fault. I'm afraid of the one who can send me to hell forever, and that's it. And then when my own fear of the world stuff stops me from saying what is true and doing things that are right, then I'm not obeying. And
Well,
so I
and
can't I can't take any credit for it. That's how I mean.
yeah, and you're right. I mean, fear is a liar, and but that's how the left functions, and I think this is what we've got to make people understand. Um, I mean, what did let's start here. So, besides just calling you names, I mean, what have they done to you to be scared of them for?
So there's all sorts of fears that creep in along the way of trying to like stand up against the behemoth of that we're staring at, all of us. But none of them are real. Like, I have not really realized that. Like, a lot of people, you're afraid of getting fired. You're afraid
Yeah,
of your kid stuff getting taken out on your kids. You're afraid of, it's like a weird social pressure, and like you have people call you mean names or be mean to you or not like you. That's tough. That's tough for people. I mean,
it is.
people don't want to have to deal with that. And if they've successfully made it, they being, not Christ, everything else, they've made it seem that it's not okay to believe what God says and to say it to other people and to confront people with the truth.
Yeah,
And, that's just a lie. Of course, it ain't gonna be easy. Ain't nobody said it's gonna be easy, but it's much easier than living in a place where we have, um, you know, child porn possessing principals of elementary schools. I mean,
yeah,
we there's going to be a reckoning, and there is a division happening. It's either you're with light or you're not,
yeah,
and it's becoming so easy to like you can ask. I mean, I like the friction, and I like the clear delineation that's being forced upon us because you can discern somebody's um, intentions and heart pretty quickly, like two questions. And you
yeah,
can say, hey, can a boy become a girl? And you
yeah.
got about all the information you need to know.
Yeah.
When they start talking like Porky Pig,
I mean,
you're like,
it's
well,
so
I think
easy.
you're, yeah.
God
Well,
is allowing discernment. Yeah.
let's go back a little bit because I want to talk a little bit about, so did you grow up in Oklahoma? I mean, kind of what's your background a little bit?
Oh, so I was born in Olathe, Kansas in '83, and my dad got a job which moved us from there to Stillwater, and I was in Stillwater. That's where I went to school and went to OSU and did a stint in the Navy. But yeah, I've been here it's my home, 30 years or something.
Okay. So you felt pretty plugged in when you took on the school board then,
Well,
right? I mean, you think or not, or
I had begun to get plugged in because, um, well, it even started before COVID. I noticed that they were hiring a diversity, equity, and inclusion administrator at my school. I don't know how I even noticed it, but I know what that is, and I know it's bad. And so I started going to a couple board meetings, and then COVID, and then um, I I started going after the city council, and we almost got the mayor and the 4 city councilors recalled. Um,
uh,
I I stood
now
out on the
over
side.
what? Explain why. I mean, why would you want to get them recalled?
They are acting like they passed a
Oh,
mask mandate, and
okay.
they shut down businesses with police.
Oh, okay.
So that was a shock to everybody that any of that was even possible, right? I mean, most people understood we live in America. What? You can do what now? You can take away my face, you're saying. Well, no, of course they can't do that. And so I went out by myself on Perkins Road with an A-frame sign that said "Recall the Mayor." I had read the city charter, and I got the petitions issued, and I was banging out signatures. People were stopping and helping, and it grew into like, I mean, we got enough signatures on these yahoos. Well, they did a bunch of legal nonsense. They broke laws, and then they they reinterpreted the city charter to disqualify signatures after they were already,
That sounds about right.
they did what they do, the lawyers, and Luke 11:52 will explain what they're up to these days. But the that's where kind of where it all kind of started for me getting plugged in was, like most people, unfortunately. Like I know a lot of you guys, Jenny and Linda, and a ton of people have been screaming from the rooftop about stuff for, like, before I was alive, right? But COVID,
Hey,
boy,
watch it.
it brought some people. Nah, this is good, Jenny. It brought some people into the fold. It clarified a lot of things. God is not the author of confusion. He
Yeah,
is clarifying
absolutely.
things through these trials he's put us through, which if you've been alive any time at all, you've realized that any of your trials or tragedies or sadness or hard stuff, that's where God grinds you up and builds you up. I mean, that's where he does his work.
It's true.
So anyway, that's kind of how I got plugged in.
Okay, but here, and Michael, you got to remember, because I'll just talk. So talk over me.
No, I will.
Because I always come up with these things. I'm like, but I have to ask this question. Okay, so do you think, because I always kind of attribute part of my, tenacity and just being who I mean, God just made me like this. I mean, the joke always was with my family that that when I was born and the doctor spanked me, to get me to cry, I hit him back. Um So I always kind of had that personality. I wasn't going to sit in the corner and just, wait for things to happen. Do you think part of it is your personality, though, too? Because I look at other people who will say and be as mad about this stuff as we are, but then they just, well, I don't want to get into an argument, or I don't want to this, and then they just don't do anything. So do you have like an attribution? Do you think, besides, I mean, do you think God made you that way, or do you think it's just all, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, certainly I have a personality that favors some friction, right? I mean, and friction isn't bad. There's lots of, you get babies using friction, like these things are good. But when I came out, the first, you mentioned what you did when you first came out. Well, I peed on the doctor as my first.
Did you really?
Yeah, the delivering dog
Awesome.
peed on him. So, I think there's a personality that, and I think it's having kids kind of that puts things, it changes your life in all kinds of ways. But you now have responsibility that is like tangible and super serious and little and special. And when you read the Bible, we are to raise them up in the way that they should go, so they will not depart from it. Well, I mean, we're talking about like my kid's soul, right?
Right.
And that's important. And so anyway, I've been given a personality that is not okay with lies, especially lies that harm my children. And if people think that they're going to get away with it, they're wrong. And not because I said so or because I do anything, because he's coming back, and he's come back with a sword. And I care about the people that are deceived too. It is not loving to let a lie go by and allow people to build on it and watch them go to hell. That's not what we're called to do. That is not Christian. That is not biblical. And it is loving to rebuke your neighbor. It's a responsibility. And this not judge, don't judge cruise ship Christianity crap. It's not even real. It's not biblical. It's fake. And you can tell that these people don't read the Bible. And these pastors, boy, I swear,
Before we get on that topic, let me ask you this, because part of what frustrates, I think, a lot of people, and it's been made, I mean, the news even brings it up now and then. There are a lot of moms going to these meetings, but you and Michael, are just a few of the guys, and you
Mm-hmm.
both have shown up in big numbers. I mean, in big ways. But where are the dads? I mean, do you think a part of the reason why I wanted you to answer that question was I'm trying to ferret out how can other men, other dads, kind of help you? How can they be more like you, if you will?
Michael, why don't you chime in there? What do you think?
Well, Jenny and I have talked about this a couple times, Riley. Like when I talk to a lot of other dads, they can give you every stat and every number on their favorite sports team or the weather, whatever, but they're just so disconnected from what's actually happening at school. And I think it's more or less just saying, hey, like, here's what's actually in this book. Like in my little notebook that I usually have, I just have one of our book reports that a mom did who's kind of part of our group, and it's got all the cuss words, got all the stuff, and I'm just like, hey man, have you ever seen it? I mean, actually just look at this, and then when I think so many people, in my opinion, are kind of disconnected or they don't want to take the responsibility that it happened on their watch. I think it's easier for them to just say, it's not really happening to that, to that degree. Yeah, it's only one thing or two things. So for me, just actually getting, in a conversation with them to where I actually show them physical proof is really the only way that I've had some people's eyes open. Otherwise, Riley, some people that I've met, even through my campaign when I was running for school board this last year, they didn't even want to believe that these kind of books are even in school. They said I was lying, that this is not in our schools here.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone through the same thing. I've gone, and I've shown that little clip that kind of went nuts of me reading to the school board. To like, I went personally to like 7 different. I can't keep track. I just walked up to the building and I said, "Hey, can I talk to one of the pastors?" I said, "Hey, you got 3 minutes?" And I just sit there with it and I show them the video. And I haven't got one of them to come with me or call me or follow with me to do jack squat. And so it's not the fact that they don't know. I showed them. Why don't they want to do anything? I think part of it is, I think it's twofold. What I've found is that they don't know what to do. They don't know how anything works. They don't understand how to get remedy. And I'm talking even people that know a lot about the process, like us. We don't know and have not been shown how to get remedy, how to actually fix stuff. We have everybody is super good at complaining. There is material galore. It's everywhere. And even our best guys, they're only good at complaining. That's all they do. All the podcasters, all the Bonginos, all the Fox, Newsmax, Lindell, all of them, they get money and they complain. That's the transactional process. There's no remedy. And that's, so it's a little bit futile for somebody that knows what's going on, like, well, what are we going to do? There's a lot of people that don't want to talk about it. They want to do it. Right. But then also you have the people that they are, I think a lot of men are paralyzed because they don't read their Bible, boil it down. They don't understand that you have to do things. You don't get to just put your head in the sand. We have flaws. There's and it paralyzes men. Sin does. And when you're living in sin, you don't feel confident to go out and to say what is true because you are unrighteously judging at that point, right? If I'm saying, hey, there shouldn't be porn in the schools, but I watch porn, I'm going to be a little hesitant. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
think a lot of men are paralyzed by not having or knowing how to actually do anything, get remedy. And then also they're living in sin. They're stuck. They're separated from God. And so I
Yeah.
think those are the two biggest things that I've found. And that, boy, them pastors, man, shame on most of them.
Yeah, and I can and that's something I was going to ask you about is during my campaign we got with several moms and we literally, Riley, we read every single book in our school district from kindergarten all the way up to high school. We wrote independent book
Wow.
reports on them. We published them all
Wow.
on a website for the people of Edmond, and we literally took 2 or 3 of those book reports and put them in a packet. I went to almost every church in my school district, in the boundaries of my district, and I dropped those off. And I just said, I want to give these to the pastor. I'd like to come in and have a conversation about what's actually happening to the minds of these kids in school, to their soul. And I tell you what, how do you know how many contacted me back?
I'm guessing 0.
1.
Oh, you got 1. Hallelujah.
And that was Pastor Paul Blair, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's going to be at the forefront of that. But that
No, but he almost doesn't count because he does that all the time. So
Yeah.
basically, you got nobody.
Yeah. So you go to 30 different places and you say that here is evil at work, right here in the innocence of our kids every day at school, and no one would even entertain a conversation.
Yeah, man. And those people, like, there in Romans, there's ways to deal with stuff like that in the church. And it begins with, hey, man to man, hey, let me talk to you. I think we got something going on here. And then if he doesn't repent and change his mind, then we bring my brothers, we bring some more people. Then the elders come, and then we throw him out on his ear. And
Well, if he's unwilling to, come
that's
into
right.
scriptural,
That's right.
yeah,
That's right.
no, and that's very true. But outside of, because I talk to so many people and they basically say, well, without a new great revival, we're kind of stuck. And it's sad, but I do believe that's true. I think, because your friend Bryce got thrown out of the Stillwater Public School Board meeting while he was reading scripture, and we helped him with a lawsuit against the school board. Yes, and we're still fighting that. We're going to talk more about that, later this week. So we are still fighting that. But the thing of it is that I remember when we went to court, and you were in court that day. And do you remember right before our case came up, there was another case that the judge was hearing, and the judge said, will you swear, to tell the whole truth? And he said, well, I don't believe in God, but I'll just tell you, I'm going to tell you the truth. And I remember being absolutely shocked. I was like, holy cow, that guy just said that. And it was really, we're to the point that it used to be back, kind of back in the day, that if you didn't have the same belief system, you would at least be polite and you just say, okay, or whatever, right? Kind of cross your fingers behind your back if that's what you wanted to do. But we're at the point today where, this is just being flaunted. People don't even care. They're just like, no, don't believe in God, whatever. So I do agree that that's a huge problem, and it's a problem that we're going to have to deal with. But outside of that, how do you see a way to kind of bring some dads into the fold, maybe, where they can start? Because I know I've talked to several of them who are legitimately afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid that if they stand up, they'll lose their job. And, as the breadwinner for the family, you do have to consider that. You can't just, you do have to consider that. So what do you think you could how can you encourage? What's the best encouragement for dads that you can give?
Yeah, there's legitimate concern that I believe is good, and that is not just made up. That if you stand up and say stuff, you can lose your job. I've been written up at work for social media.
Oh no.
There's a policy in my work manual that says I can't offend anyone. I can't hurt anyone's feelings.
Wow.
I mean, seriously. So, I mean, anyway, but the truth has to be acknowledged, right? So
Yeah.
I'm unwilling to compromise the truth to
Yeah.
appease someone. And what happens is, the truth is, my work does not provide for me.
Yeah. Well, true.
And and if I think that God isn't going to take care of me, I'm going to be fearful and I'm going to worry, and it's going to change my actions, and I'm going to do stuff and I'm going to compromise. Well, as a man, you can do that to your detriment and to everyone else's. That I think that the biggest strategy and I've been black pilled for a little while, Jenny. I know me and you have talked, like, I've been kind of just waiting, with seemingly no remedy, no way to affect change, until there was going to be guns involved. Like, I mean, I don't know how, and nobody wants that. I do not want no guns. I don't want no civil war. I don't want to do any, we are to overcome good with evil, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
Backwards.
Wrong one.
Sorry. Overcome evil with good. So, and so I've been black pilled and not really sure where to go or what to do. I've seen me and my hard work be used by corporate media and a bunch of clown checkmark suckers to grift and make money and not actually help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are
That's
our
true.
team. That's our
Yeah.
team. These guys,
Yes.
And so anyway, recently I'd come across, I've been listening to Jaron a while. Jaron had a conference a while back about common law. And I went to it. It sounds cool. It sounds crazy. It sounds nuts. And then he had mentioned to me he's been learning and mentoring under a guy named David Jose. Well, this dude has shown actual remedy. He has shown
Okay.
that there is a method that is in the law that is based on fundamental laws, and that's been hidden from us, and not some sort of weird. It's basically understanding history, civics, our constitutions, actually reading them and understanding them. Not our constitution, our constitutions, because we have
Right.
51. Understanding where our rights come from and understanding that we are the boss. When I go to that school board meeting, or when we go anywhere, we are a certain class of people. We are the people. We wrote all the stuff. The judge, he is a trustee. He is to serve at the benefit of the trust. The beneficiaries are us. And this isn't some like weird idea or abstract idea. It's literally written in the fundamental laws. These things have not been taught to us. They've been hidden from us.
Yeah.
They've changed the definition of words. And the legal system is not doing the right thing. So basically, we are to direct our servants. Like, so if I have a butler, I tell the butler what to do. If I don't like what he's doing, I fire him. Right? If my butler decides he's going to like charge me to enter my own house and then require me to have licenses to use my property, and I can't fire him, well, I have entered into a space that doesn't make any sense based on what is written, right? So this dude, and I've listened the last 6 days, he's been this guy named David Jose. If anybody takes anything from me at all, I have found a dude who's teaching people and a way to actually direct and enforce our trustees to follow the trust indenture, the constitutions. And it's a mechanism that is literally working. The ATF is being dissected and smashed. It's getting its back blown out right now. in the courts because these guys are sending notices to these officials and educating them and directing them on what they're doing and what's wrong. And they're following the directions of these notices. And I've never seen anything like it. I've never heard anything like it, but it makes a whole lot of sense, and it's based on the Bible. It's based on what is true. It's based on the common law, and it's based on our constitutions. So anyway, in the Facebook, I was going to just do this on this part. On the Facebook link for your video, I'm going to put like a 7 hour, 2 videos, both from Jose. Their audio, their Twitter Spaces.
Okay.
And they brought me back with truth, evidence, and this dude's given me a method that I'm going to learn based on truth and what is written. So like, don't believe anything anybody says. You go look. You have to learn. So like, what he's teaching is if you have rights, right? And God, they come from God. The founders had wisdom. They put them and expressed them in our Constitution. The government is to secure them. They're to fight for them. They cannot violate them. And of course, that's not what's happening, right? Well, I can't use somebody else's rights for them. You have to know your rights and then understand the system and then express them. And all these clowns, these servants who act like they have power over us, they have already sworn an oath to not do what they're doing. It's just the lawyers have hidden the ways to exert them on our government. And this is working how they're doing it. So basically you're writing a notice, directing your officials, telling them, hey, I understand that you don't have certain authority to do what you're doing. And here's why you don't. And you list out the reasons. There are certain maxims of law. There's constitutions. And all you got to do is cite it and be like, okay, here's why you can't do what you're doing. And you don't have the authority. Now, please notice we understand this now and explain how you have the authority. And the way you do it is they have to respond via sworn statement, sworn affidavit, because you have sent a sworn affidavit to them and noticing them. And none of these officials know what to do with that. They're like, they don't want to swear on nothing. You might get an email, probably not. Well, in court, there's something called tacit acquiescence. So if I send you a notice and it's legal, I swear to it, and you don't respond in the required amount of days that I specify in my notice with the sworn statement, you have prima facie evidence that is not disputable. This is not an argument. You didn't respond, so it's agreed to in court. Well, you can take that to an arbitration judge. You can take that to I tell you, a grand jury.
Yeah. And
a grand jury can be formed without the court saying jack squat. We can force it. It's in the Constitution. What needs to break is the idea that we have an idol. People like on our side, they have an idol. It's government, it's politicians.
Yeah.
We need somebody else to exert our rights for us. We need somebody to fix the stuff. It's us. We're the ones that have to do it. And we have to use our rights to check the government. And they don't have authority over us. The truth is, the governor has authority over the executive branch, not the people. And I'm telling you, it is not just an idea. It's not something I'm saying. You can go read it. His job is to serve us and to our benefit, not to our detriment. And we all know these things intuitively. Like we know, we have a general understanding of the constitutions, but the mechanism by which to direct them and to force them to do the will of the people and to abide by the trust indenture has been hidden and lost. And the maxims and fundamentals of law they're not understood by people. The lawyers are liars. The Bar Association is not the Bar Association is a private membership association. they're not even versed in the fundamentals of law. Lawyer, the definition is a person learned in the law. They don't even understand the Constitution is will smash every statute ever. You don't
Yeah.
get to make statutes that violate the Constitution. Constitution
Yeah, but
wins every time.
don't forget. I mean, what's happened, this has been going on because I agree with you 100%, and I'm going to watch these, although Michael knows a lot about this too. What
love
you're
it.
talking about. You're 100% right. It's our government, and the government has, because government grows and it never shrinks. Government grows and then occludes the parts that we should be using to make the government work for us. And then not only that, they create these giant bureaucracies, which then further occlude, what it is that we're supposed to be doing. And it's so interesting that you say that, because and then the government then becomes it. And I don't even know how to explain this. I had a meeting. I was in a meeting just recently with a person who was part of the election board system in Oklahoma. And he presented us with a slideshow. It was in 4-color. Michael and I can't afford to produce 4-color anything, but it was in 4-color, and it was this slideshow. And at the beginning part of it, the first couple of pages were, stuff like stats and just, pretty cut and dried facts and figures, which was fine. But the last about 6 pages were screenshots from social media sites talking about how bad the election board is, and this should be happening. And some of them weren't nice. I mean, you don't ever threaten the life of anybody. I'm sorry, we just don't do that. And some of them weren't nice at all. But this guy was like, why would they say that? We're here to help. And I think I must have looked like a deer in the headlights. My jaw just kind of went like that. And I was like, so you really honestly believe this, don't you? And I said, here's the problem. I don't trust you at all. I don't trust anybody in this building. You people work for the government. And at this point, you're not me, and I don't trust you. And you should have seen their faces. How dare you? I mean, it was they are fundamentally at this point screwed up so far in the head that they believe that what they're doing is right. And they'll tell you that you have to take an injection, and they'll tell you you have to wear a mask, and they'll tell you that you can't own your own property if you don't, pay them money. They will do all of these things with a smile on their face while they're saying, well, we're helping you because we have to be able to do this, but we're helping you.
Yeah. Well, and I want to just dovetail on what Riley just said. We all know how bad the government is. Government, is it's the elephant in the room, and we agree to all this case law, all this statutory law, the maritime law. We allow that because most people, and this goes back to the point of with Riley in the books and just starting that conversation. Okay. The real problem is in the education system. These kids are not taught about common law, the Constitution, and God-given rights, and about how we actually operate with true freedom here. And because none of that is taught in school in any capacity. So, at least in my opinion, Riley, the first step is we're starting to bring awareness of how bad things are, at least even with these books. Okay. So we can at least we got to keep moving the ball to say, hey, we need this kind of curriculum. We need to, we need to educate our board of education at each one of these school districts, because they do have the power to bring in these type of curriculums and change the direction. I think it's very important, but I'm 100%, behind everything you just said. I love that kind of stuff because it's, I just, for whatever reason, I'm a lot like Jenny. I just, I can't just take, it's just, everything is just wrong. I'm not that I'm a rebel or I'm some, guy that's just like resists everything. But to me, in my heart and in my soul, I just feel like we're just living in complete tyranny, and that's not what we're made. That's not what this country was designed for, and what we did in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean the big lie is that the government has the big lie is that government is an unstoppable monster that
Yeah.
only grows. And the truth is, like, as the balloon, as it gets bigger and bigger, the government, how big of a needle does it take to pop
Yeah.
that thing?
Yeah.
Well, the truth is, we can, and what I've learned, this is what I'm learning, and it's like, it's not a small thing what I'm hearing and learning and studying. This is not the, it's not a small thing. It brought, I mean, I was, like I said, black pilled, and it was not a fun space to be. But what I'm learning is actually working. It's literally showing remedy, and everybody has lots to say about it. There are lots of critical things to say about it, but the Bible says, "Look at the fruit."
Right.
And I can show fruit of this guy's work,
Yeah.
and it's actually working, and that is exciting. The guy does not take an ounce of credit. He points to the boss, because the boss is where it comes from. It's the Bible.
Yeah.
Common law is based on the Bible, and he says, if you do what I say, he'll prosper you. He will deliver your enemy under thine feet. And he does it. And I'm watching it happen in real time. Like when I went to the bathroom deal, went to the school board meeting with the bathroom, they ended me up on Lower Ingram. A bunch of people, OCPA showed up in their suits, talking about Title IX and all this statutory garbage. And then, so I didn't know what to say. I was praying. I was mad as all get out. And what came out of my mouth was, I'm going to stop it if you don't. And I had no idea how. I didn't know what I was saying or doing, but I just knew it was going to stop. And by golly, what happened? I ended up on Laura Ingram, and the school board was made famous, and we got my rhino fake loser Republican John Talley to move. A week before I was on this show and at that school board meeting, I went to one of the school board fundraisers with my 3-year-old on my arm, and I found John Talley, and I gave him the business. And so when there is boys being allowed into my daughter's bathroom, somebody's going to answer for that. And I found it, and he was not ready for what hit him. And I did it in front of people. I was in a line, and I called him over, and he had not been talked to like that before. And that was righteous anger.
Yeah.
That made him move. It wasn't him he's an OEA guy. He's a fake. But God is moving, and he's changing stuff. And that was just the beginning. And there's no chance that we don't have rights that come from God that we can't exercise and use to our benefit. And he's going to get the glory for it. And I'm already telling you, like the ATF getting knocked down by Clarence Thomas and Bruin, that there's a Bruin decision that knocked down the ATF one by one by one by one. They're falling. Hundreds of cases right now. And even Hunter Biden, you guys know who Andrew Weissman is? Big snake Democrat lawyer. He's up there with Obama and them. Top 5 bad guy lawyer. And this guy was on CNN the other day talking about, well, that federal gun charge that Biden caught Hunter for being addicted to drugs and lying on that gun form, that is likely unconstitutional. So what? Well, he was able to say that because it's true, because the Bruin case in 22, the Supreme Court handed down, they smacked it down using arguments that were not presented in the cases. Wait a second. So the reason why it got knocked down is because there was thousands of these notices instructing our government officials coming in from outside, from this group of dudes and people that are.
Oh my gosh, I read about that, but I didn't understand what that was because I didn't finish the whole article. That's what that was about?
They're not. See, think about it. Like,
back and read that.
This dude, he's like, look, we're going after the ATF because of the pistol braces, right? So he called his shot. 3 weeks, 4 weeks prior to the Bruin case, he said, watch, we're going to send in thousands of these notices instructing them in the real law to the Supreme Court, to Jim Jordan, to all these clowns, judges. And watch, the Supreme Court is going to start pulling up cases to correct the stuff that we're telling them they're doing wrong. And lo and behold, it happened. It's happened.
Wow.
And of course, they're not going to like put out a press conference or like put out news. The news ain't going to tell nobody what's working, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm watching it.
Yeah, it won't
with my own
benefit
eyes.
them. They won't make any money off of people actually feeling comfortable in their own skin and empowered to do, you know, what they need to do to have a free life. So yeah, that's not going to happen.
So it's been good stuff. I would encourage, and like in this whole last 4 years of craziness that has flipped my life upside down and everybody else's, I have not like really shared like, hey, watch this. Hey, you got to watch this. If there's somebody with ears to hear and eyes to see, the 2 links I'm going to put in the Facebook video of this thing, guy, changed my perspective on what's possible. And now with what we can do, not so, and I would encourage people to watch it, more than I can say.
Well, and I'm definitely going to, and then, you know, maybe Michael and I need to have a show on that ourselves, and maybe even bring.
We definitely do. Well, because we need that snowball effect. It's just you show people what the truth is, and then it can be contagious. But they don't even know. Everything is so clouded, so shrouded. You know, people just have no idea, Riley, what their real rights are when it comes to being an American. And it's crazy. But there again, we go back. The government is huge. The government has done this on purpose. So the government is the answer. You know, it's just like when you go into court and you give a lawyer, you know, when you go hire a lawyer, you're basically saying, I'm inept to represent myself. So, you know, then you bring in all the other you bring in all those other statutes and case laws because you don't understand your own rights that's been given to you. I mean, it's a whole process. But I'm so glad you came on here and you were talking about that. And I haven't heard of this guy, but I can't wait to watch all his material and get into his stuff because I'm right there, man. I mean, I'm sick of everything when it comes to any compliance from the government. I mean, I'm talking IRS, I'm talking all the agencies, I'm talking driver's license. I mean, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I am absolutely up to here with all the BS that we have to do to just live here when that's not what our forefathers, I mean, that's all the tyranny they fought against in the very beginning.
Well, let me make a point. Let me make a point here and see if you guys will agree with me. So, in this whole thing, that episode that I was telling you about with the election board, I was supposed to, according to the law, I was supposed to get paid. Okay, well, I don't want to get paid by them and I had to fill out, they wanted me to fill out all of this information, and it was employment forms and this and that and the other thing. And I basically said, I'm not an employee of the government. I was appointed by an organization that it says is right for me to do that in law. So I'm not your employee. And basically I fought with them and I just said, I'm not going to do it. And I think one of the things is this: nobody is willing to say no. Everybody seems to be so scared to just say no, like something's going to happen to them. And the government, of course, you look at what happened after J6, and you have the government going around and still arresting people, and they're doing it so that the rest of us are scared of them. That is basically the reason why they're doing it, to just instill fear of the government. It's like Tiananmen Square here. And, you know, my thought about the process, the whole process, is quit consenting. I mean, just stop saying okay. For God's sakes, if somebody hands you something, instead of going, okay, well, here, say, you know what, I'm not doing anything until I read this. Or say, you know, I don't know anything about this. I'm not going to do any of that until I've researched this myself. I mean, even if you don't want to just say up yours, I'm not doing this. Okay, fine. Say, you know, no, I'm not going to do this until I've read this, or I'm not going to do this until I have somebody look over it. But everybody just kind of walks around like these little automatons. Okay, whatever you say, I will do it.
Well, don't worry, Jenny. Q is going to help save us. You know, see, the lies and combined with effeminate men have done a number on us, huh? You know, we have lots of our people that are really believing like Hillary Clinton is dead right now, that Joe Biden he's not even a clone, you know, these sorts of things. There's lots of weird stuff going on that we don't know, but to give the enemy more credit than these people lose.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean, we
and
win.
I'm going to jump on what you said because that is so important. We have all of this nonsense that we're so divided into these little tiny groups that we're just pot shotting at each other and going, well, if you don't like Q, then I don't like you. Well, if you're not 100% Trump, then I'm not going to talk to you. It's not even about politics anymore at this point. The red and the blue, the Democrats and the Republicans, it's a uniparty. Wake up. I mean, you're you, and you're the one that's got the freedom. You're the one that's got to stand up for you. Nobody else is going to do that. And if you think the Republicans are the answer to everything, and Oklahoma is a red state, and we're in the Bible Belt, you're so dead wrong that needs to be the first place you come to agreement with us on, and then move from there.
Yeah, like is anybody able to like pull up Article 2, Section 1 of the Oklahoma Constitution?
I can do it. Of the Oklahoma Constitution?
Yes, if you go to Ballotpedia.
Okay.
Ballotpedia. I think it's .org or .com.
Yeah.
And you type in the search bar, you type in state constitutions.
Okay. I'm doing this while you're telling me.
Yeah. It's so good to like know stuff, but like actually to read it, oh man.
Hold on. Let me share the screen and I can show people what I'm doing at the same time. So, okay. So I'm here. You can see where I am. So where am I going?
So that preamble right there. You see that down a little bit? Does it say preamble?
Got it.
Does that say anything about God in there?
Invoking the guidance of Almighty God in order to secure and perpetuate the blessing of liberty.
That blows up church and state separation. Gone.
Yeah, see ya.
All right. So now scroll down to Article, the Bill of Rights, and click on that.
Okay.
I think it's Article 2 right there.
Okay.
All right. Read Section 1 right there. And I'm going to stop you a couple times.
All political power is inherent in the people. And
how much?
All.
Okay.
100%.
Yep. All right. Keep going.
All political power is inherent in the people, and government is instituted for their protection, security.
Whose protection?
For mine.
That's right. Okay, go ahead.
Security and benefit, and to promote their general welfare. And, oh, wow, look at this. And they have the right to alter or reform the same whenever the public good may require it.
Hold up. Did it say every 4 years?
No.
Every 2 years?
No.
When do we have the right to alter or reform?
Anytime I want to.
Whenever, huh?
Yeah.
So we have a deficit of understanding, and really, once you get through all the nonsense, there's lots of people who want to fix stuff.
Wait, can we do section 2 too?
Yeah.
Okay. All persons have the inherent right to life. That means babies. Liberty, the pursuit of happiness. What is the pursuit of happiness? Owning one's property, which means that we shouldn't have property taxes.
Yeah, 100%.
And the enjoyment of the gains of their own industry. What does that mean?
Yeah,
no
so
taxes.
It all goes back to the Bible. It says, give unto Caesar what is his.
Yeah.
Right? So we have inherent, meaning like they expressed it in these documents, but it's already there before the documents came. Right? So how's that possible? Well, it's something called the Bible.
Yeah.
And
wow. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it is true that we have the ability to fire on the spot government actors who even look like they're doing a bad job, that may even be in the danger of maladministration, which is a word we're all going to learn and start hammering these people with.
Yeah, I love
The
that.
the idea that we can't enforce our rights is a lie. And these people are finding out before our eyes. The dude who I'm talking about, Jose, who's Jaron is following, and Jaron is doing, he's learning and banging stuff out. He's going to be a problem, and so am I.
Well, I'll be there with you. Trust me.
I want
when
you
I get
to.
completely up to speed, I will be there, guns blazing.
We can, this guy Jose, everybody told, he lives in Arizona. Everybody told him that he couldn't do a bunch of stuff. He was the one, and another guy are responsible for getting a full forensic audit in Arizona. Every lawyer, every politician, everybody said he couldn't do it. This dude who don't know anything about law school, never went, self-taught, believes the Bible, credits God, went and got it done. He got the physical ballots. So the small thinking that we have, that we've been trained with, is that is in direct conflict to what is true and written.
Well, and I want to point that out. What it says right here in section 6 is basically what you're saying. Text of section 6, courts of justice open remedies for wrong sale, denial, or delay. And it says the courts of justice of the state shall be open to every person, and speedy and certain remedy afforded for every wrong and for every injury to person, property, or reputation, and right and justice shall be administered without sale. That means
no court costs.
Denial, delay, or prejudice. And so it indicates to me, so here's another little, I'm just going to inject it very quickly. So a neighbor of mine, because we had another school bond last night, because these school bonds are ridiculous. Most of the schools in Oklahoma can't even educate their kids, period. They can read at 30%, maybe 28% of proficiency. Yeah. And yet they want more and more and more money for cafeterias, for this or that or the other thing. And so we all got together and we're like, we're not going to let this school bond pass in our school district. And so we went in together and created a mailer and sent it out to people. And we had more of a turnout ever than we had, in a long time last night. And we kind of attribute it to that card. But one of the men actually went and took a course kind of similar to what you're talking about, actually, Riley. And he learned law, and he went and basically went to the court and said, hey, what they're doing financing this is wrong. It's illegal according to the Oklahoma Constitution. And without an attorney, he was able in Oklahoma County to file this lawsuit on his own.
Yeah, so there's victories happening where people are learning their rights. These people are, by and large, they believe the Bible. And that's really, I think we have eyes to see. We're indwelled by the Spirit. And so we can see things that other people can't see because they aren't indwelled by the Spirit and given up to Christ. So, but the trick is, and this what this dude teaches is if you've gone to court, you're already in trouble. So we can do court outside of court.
Okay.
So what that means is, like, you don't wait for stuff to happen and then go to court and ask a judge for stuff.
So you're not reactive, you're proactive.
Yeah. So like you tell government what is wrong, what's bad, what they're in danger of doing, what they did, but you do it through the mail via certified sworn statement.
Okay.
Well, then they have to respond, and when they don't, you've got them. You basically build them in a common law box that none of them understand, but the courts are bound and sworn to operate through the common law. These are common law courts of record, and it's all expressed, written, and they swear to it. They have to do certain things. Well, Black's Law Dictionary and certain maxims of law, we don't know, we don't understand, and just like the word diversity or inclusion, they have changed the meaning in 100 years to flip it on its head, right? Inclusion means to shut up.
Correct.
Go look it up. Webster's 1828 says inclusion means the pearl is included in the shell. It's enclosed. It keeps stuff out. So we just have to understand what is true, and that's what matters. And then you can go hammer these people and put them in a place where what'll happen is you'll get one of these government officials, and he'll get one of these, and he'll be like, "Oh snap!" And he'll go show it to his lawyer. "Hey, what's this?" And the lawyer's like, "You don't have to worry about that. It's crazy stuff, you know." But when he reads it, he's like, "Well, hold on. This is looking like it's making some sense, because the truth does tend to make sense. It's not confusing, right?" So when he starts looking at this, and he's like, "Man," and when there's like a remedy down here or a penalty that we write into them, and it's like 50 grand an offense, 5 grand an offense, and he gets 150 of these, and it's not this. We're not going after the city councilor. We're going after John Wedlake.
Yeah, exactly.
You, sir.
Yeah.
You, sir, swore an oath, and I'm telling you, they're gonna start realizing that what it looks like it makes sense, and the lawyer who's telling him he don't have to do nothing about it, he can just ignore it. It's not his neck in the noose. It's not his tail on the line, right? And so it causes some problems for these people, not because it's like,
Michael,
I love it.
you're making Michael so happy,
I know.
Riley.
Hey, I'm so happy to have a way that has been shown to go after these people. And this is good with evil. This is overcoming evil with good. This is not going after them in any sort of way. We're not going to crush them. We're not going to take all their money in their house. This is why Christians have to do it, because we want justice. We want our government servants to bend the knee and obey what they swore to obey. And we have... Good.
Well, and I just wanted to point out something. The difference between us and the left, this is, I think this is very easily demonstrated. The difference between us and the left is exactly what you said, Riley. We're not going to dox you. We don't want to, we're not talking about shooting you. We're not going to send in bomb threats. We're not going to do... All we want is just to do things the right way, do it in paper, do it following the law. That's all we want to do. And I think that part of going back, I'm going to flip back to the first part of our conversation and fear. Yes, you're right. I mean, if we have the spirit of Jesus, we don't have a spirit of fear. And I completely concur with that. But what I'm saying is here, we don't have to fear anyway, because we're not doing anything wrong. I mean, and that's, I think, the what's gotten us to where we are now. People, I don't want to go to I can't stand up and say anything in front of those people. That makes me nervous. I don't like those people. Well, they're in control of this. We are doing what you just said. We've made idols out of government, and somehow everything they do is what we have to follow and genuflect and kiss their ring. And it's not true. And I don't know, guys. I just think
it's a hoax.
Get anything, if any, it is. It is.
Yeah. Well, and then I'm a finance guy, Riley, and then you get into the entire corporate side of everything, and how, I mean, the corporation was even taken out in the Constitution. I mean, that whole side of it is just completely been usurped, to where these corporations are only supposed to be granted their corporationship for a certain amount of time to do some type of project, and then they're dissolved. When everything's been completely overtaken, you've got the entire federal banking system, which is, I mean, everything has just been turned completely upside down from the Constitution and our original rights.
Well, you can get in this space where I'm pretty green into, I've learned that there's a lot of, so there's state nationals, there's sovereign citizens, there's all this maritime law, there's all this,
Yeah.
the fringe on the flag is yellow, so it's a corporation or blah, all caps, blah, blah, blah. That's all a hoax. All
Yeah.
of it's a hoax. Because
Yeah.
I read the Bible and the constitutions, and they say it's all a hoax.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so there's lots of different trails and people trying to like make money or do certain things, but like the truth is that we have inherent rights and that we have the power. Not how much of it,
Yeah.
all of it. How did I know?
Yeah.
Because I read it.
Yeah.
Right.
There ain't nothing else to it. You can take
We
your
just read it on
corporation-
this show.
Yeah, you can take your corporation and shove it, man.
Yeah.
I got these inherent rights and you can't touch them. That's how this works. We just have lacked the ability to understand it and then how to execute it, how to enforce our rights. But I'm learning how to do that. And it's going to be a big problem. You don't get to win, bad guys. You lose. How do I know? It says it. It's written.
Yeah.
We're going to come take this place by force in love and peace, right?
Yeah.
This is how this ends. So
Right.
God is opening the door to wisdom and knowledge to people that will credit him. And I do not want to be famous. I don't want no money. I don't want jack squat. I want justice. And I
Yeah.
want what is mine returned to me, because I
Right.
want to have my kids live in a country that is underneath and in service to what is good. And what is good is not defined by people. It's defined by the Bible.
No, absolutely.
And
Well,
so
we're getting
that's-
to we're over an hour, and we end up having people who turn it. It's like an hour of this is just too much. I can't do any more of this.
I'm with you.
But I want to kind of wrap up with you guys because I thought I really was not expecting this program to go this way. And I love it when God runs stuff for you and, it just happens. So thank you for coming on, Riley. But I think one of the things that I'd like is, can you kind of, I don't know, send us some stuff, or we'll pull you in on some things, as you're learning this, so that you can help, us inform other people, or, we'll get Jaron. I mean, whatever we need to do.
You know what we need to do, Jenny, is we need to make we're about parent empowerment, and liberty and equality and freedom and the whole 9 yards. And we need to make probably a dedicated page on the website directly, linking all this information in one place, so everybody can, go, whatever.
No, that's
Riley
a great
says,
idea.
where we need to go, these other guys, we need to compile all this stuff and put it on the website.
I'm making myself a note right now. Riley, make sure you do throw those links down under there under Facebook, but also send them to me too. And then I'll do what Michael's saying. We'll just put a whole new page up on the website so that we can, and we may even call it just Remedy, like you said, because I was so enamored of what you said about that, because I'm with you. Shut up. I mean, if you're just going to stand there and whine and complain, shut up. I'm just sick of it. Everybody's whining and complaining. Use that energy and focus it into doing something. I mean, I guess and for those of us who are doers, it's easy to say that to people. And I understand that it's hard for people to do, but I also know this. And I know you guys would agree with me. Part of the reason I know that Marxists want to diminish men is because men are natural leaders. And yes, there are some women who are natural leaders as well, but men were meant to be the natural leaders. And when you diminish that group of people, you start lacking the leaders and leadership. And then we end up going like lemmings into the sea, and it has to stop. And so for you guys to be real leaders means everything. And I'm not sure where I was going with that, but I think we have to develop that and bring that to the forefront, because we've got to have leaders who people are willing to follow, like you
I,
said, Riley.
I can kind of somewhat connect what you're saying, Jenny. So you go into the whole transgender issues, all these library books, you know, the feminization of all these boys. I mean, that is the purpose. It is to destroy these future leaders. It's to destroy the family unit, you know, the whole 9 yards. That it is a program that has been, you know, very uh, decisively put into place to hurt these boys, you know, on purpose. I mean, period. That's what all this education stuff, all this nonsense that's going on in these schools, it is there for that reason, in my opinion.
Well, and to make girls scared. I mean, if they're going to be boys in their bathroom, and if they're going to, you know, I think it's to scare young girls too, I think, is another thing that it's meant to do. But
Well, I'm here to tell you, we're gonna break it.
Yeah,
well, I do believe that we can. We just have to get the information out, and we have to be like, you know, the sowers of God's word in the Bible and in the parable of Matthew. You know, we have to bring in people that we believe can help us do this. And so it's up to us to cultivate the people around us in this, because, you know, God can do anything, but we're our hands and feet here, and we have to be active here.
What happens in these movements, and we have to be careful of, is allowing compromise in order to grow the size of the movement. So God will not use people, and he will not use you if you're not submitted to him. He will use you to the people that are submitted to him's benefit, and he often will benefit people that are not submitted to him. But he has plans, and we are Gideon's army, and we have to guard our flocks. We have to guard our movements against untruth. And untruth is where a lot of people are mad at God. A lot of people don't believe in God.
Yeah, it's true.
And we cannot allow untruth to force us to compromise our values, because that is not okay, and it's not true. So that's what happens in a lot of these, is that Jesus is the friction point. He is where people divide. And a lot of people want to fix stuff but don't believe in Jesus. Well, I mean, they can come with us or not, but if I can't bring God's word into a space, and I'm not allowed to talk about it, but that's where the remedy and truth is, then I'm gonna dust off my shoes and move on. I mean, I don't have time for that. We cannot compromise what is true, and that's what we've been lacking as men, is the ability to stand up to things that aren't true and confront it. And that's what I am focused on doing.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, God bless you. I mean, truthfully, God bless you. And thank you so much. And we'll stay in touch, because I mean, what you said today is like super, super important. And it's kind of where we've been going naturally. So I think, you know, it was really was a God thing that we had you on and ended up talking about that today. So let's stay in touch. And you can help us with, you know, getting that webpage up and stuff, if you would. But thank you for being on. And thank you for being one of, you know, God's great men on earth.
Hallelujah. Thank you all for having me, and I appreciate the time.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Riley. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Wow, that was great. You know, but isn't it funny how we have these shows and sometimes they don't ever go the way you're gonna like? Where did that one go?
Yeah, right. Riley's speaking my exact language. I mean, I've been,
he is,
you know, and I will admit, Jenny, before pre-COVID, I mean, I was always, you know, someone, I mean, I was a pretty good rule follower. I like to do the right thing. I like to treat people correctly. I wasn't a big rabble rouser. I mean, you can ask, you know, when I had to run for school board, I mean, that was literally the last thing I wanted to do. I mean, all the mom, they're like, Michael, you have to do it, you know, but when COVID happened, I mean, it just triggered me. It's like, enough is enough. That's it. You can't trust these people ever. The government, you know, I don't care what anybody says. The government hurts people, period. They don't protect anybody but their own interest. and I just had enough. And now, over the course of the last 3 years, I've developed into someone that is going to fight, tooth and nail going forward for all of our God-given rights in every capacity, and protect these kids and turn the entire education system around. Because in my opinion, you've been on this for a long time. You've been such a leader, you've been such a leader in recognizing just how damaging the education system, has been and is getting progressively worse. And whether people want to believe it or not, it's almost like, you're kind of like tomorrow's news today. Next week, next year's news today, whatever it may be. But I think, there's kind of a quickening happening where more and more people are waking up. There's guys like me, guys like Riley that, prior couple years ago, we're complete non-factors, just another cog in the wheel, going to work, doing what we have to do, taking care of business. Now I will be a major thorn in the side of education and all these corrupt things going forward.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting to me. I mean, I've been reading Old Testament. The Bible that I'm reading is the Bible in order, right? So it's temporally in order from, in time. And so I've been going through the major prophets, and it's interesting to me how much the word remnant comes up, and it comes up quite a bit. God's remnant, God's remnant, God's remnant. And, I was convinced several years ago, that the word was remnant. And I'm not unconvinced of that even today. I do believe that, for people who are called to his purpose, then, you're seeing things in a different way than people who aren't. And, it's sad to me, but I do believe that a lot of the lefties are irreligious. And even if they are, religious, they can't worship the same God I do. Because if we're reading the God of the Bible, then I'm not seeing the same person there. So I think that in terms of encouragement, which is what I think we need to do. I mean, I think we need to be encouraging, and I think our terms of encouragement need to be, read your Bible, pray, practice your discernment, because I do believe that we're God's hands and feet here, and we do have things to do. And, we can do them. And I think what Riley was talking about is exactly one of those things. And we need to really, and it was interesting to me too. This is always so weird. So it's interesting to me that, I have this neighbor who basically went through law school, just on his own as a person, and just on doing internet courses, and then filed this lawsuit himself. And I just think, if he can do that, we can all do that. Everybody who wants to do that can do that. It's not an unattainable goal. It's just that we have to set aside time from things that we like doing when we're not working, to do these things. And we just need to do them.
Well, and that entire system has been usurped in some capacity with all of the legalese and the pomp and the circumstance and procedures. And, when your actual rights and what the actual Constitution says, whether it's the United States Constitution or the Constitution of Oklahoma, when you know what that says at the core of how and why it was written the way that it was, I mean, that negates all that. All that stuff is there to deter us from actually educating ourselves and representing ourselves and taking.
I agree.
In the whole remedy, like what Riley was saying. I mean, I'm 100%, going to move forward with all of that, myself personally, and teach my kids, because they're
Well,
never going to learn that in school ever.
and
It's not going to be
no,
taught.
no, gosh, no, they're never going to learn that at school. Even in the best charter government run charter schools. Anyway, so I think what we need to do is, for those of you who are Patreon members, I think we need to maybe do this on our Patreon account. So if you really want to learn it, pony up some, your $8 a month and join us on Patreon, and we'll start teaching this there as well. Or apparently go to Jaron Jackson's podcast. He's, does a great job at coming up with this stuff. But definitely, thank you to those of you who are Patreon members. And if you do want to donate to help us, because I know it always seems to people like, well, all you do is take your time and you get on here and you and, Michael talk and blah, blah, blah. Well, but you have to pay for the streaming software, and you have to pay for the WordPress, and you have to pay for the internet, and you have to pay for the, so it's not this list of, we're just doing this all for free kind of a thing. I mean, we're giving away our time for free, but there are other things that cost. So,
and there's a lot of things we do behind the scenes, Jenny.
Well,
with all kinds of other ways we help parents and guide them towards things or whatever it may be. I mean, and you've done that for a long time. There's a lot of meetings, you've had with people behind the scenes that no one knows about. And other people in the group, and the time that Tracy gives, and Nancy, and everybody else.
Yeah. So it is. So if you would donate, that would be great. All right. We have a something new that's going to come up on Friday. So I watch our announcements, and we might even send an email out about that. So kind of watch. There's something coming up on Friday that we want you to be aware of. Is there anything going before we close out here today, Michael? Anything?
No.
Any last words of wisdom?
No. I mean, other than God gave us our rights, and we need to educate ourselves and exercise those rights, proportionately and appropriately to, how we're designed and why we're here.
All right. Amen. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate you being here, and we will see you again on Friday. And we will have Janice Danforth, who is the chapter chairman of the Moms for Liberty in Tulsa. So we will see you at 9:00 in the morning on Friday morning, and tune into our Patreon channel. Thanks so much.
Thanks.